see. We don't need you anymore. Oh wait, yeah. There we go.
The Sacrificial Dagger, Otto Stern, Lumina Books.
The importance placed on ritual sacrifice is constant in religious cult practice. Propitiating the gods is a theme common to many religions. The Old Testament affords many examples. Primitive polytheistic belief systems integrate sacrifice in their rituals as part of the recurrent process of reaffirmation and, naturally enough, group cohesion. The members of their social and religious community come together in an act of purification and atonement.
Atonement, eh?
It would be erroneous to imagine the act of human sacrifice linking priest, offering, and God, C.F. Manzetti's stone cults, as anything less than a vital focusing of the group's faith. The act also ensures the continuing appeasement of the god, but only if practiced by a recognized officiating priest using the appropriate instrument.
Like a lute.
Studies made concerning primitive religious groups bear witness to the central role of sacrifice in living ritual.
Oh shit.
My own work in the field of ethnopsychology brought
Okay.
My own work in the field of ethnopsychology brought me into contact with a sorcerer living in the region of Arkham. He
Asylum?
introduced me to the rite of steel, linked to a ceremony known as adoring the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs. The god being adored is known as the vagabond. Here, the dagger's role, which allows the life breath to pass from one dimension to another, is essential. The vagabond is a frightening figure, being able to move where he wants and to kill those who have displeased the goat god, for whom he acts as a go-between. The goat is clearly a fertility god. The priest, having spoken the invocation, must choose the appropriate dagger for the sacrifice. The knife with a sinusoidal blade that must be dipped 7 times, on night when the moon is full, in water that has been distilled 100 times, will be laid aside, since it would send the vagabond back into his own dimension. See illustration.
It's a very squiggly knife.
The priest will rather choose the dagger with a curved blade. That is more appropriate for slitting of the lamb's throat. This act transfigures the sorcerer priest and plunges the assembled worshippers into a divine trance.
It's like a little person T-posing. Or it's a snake person if you tilt your head right enough. Okay. Let's see. Oh, you scunny. There's plenty of space. There we go.
Juan Luis Jorge, De Biblioteca, Reflections on the Power of the Verb in Certain Texts. Archaeos Publications, 1919, Stafford.
Translation does not alter the occult power contained within such forbidden texts. The malevolent energy is in no way diminished. The spell must be cast aloud and clearly, in certain languages or little-known dialects. Maglafar Fathang. The reader will understand that, in the light of these revelations, I would be foolhardy to continue quoting from the text I have before me. If spoken aloud in its entirety, it would surely awaken powerful and malignant forces.
Malignant, eh?
I will go further and say that simple reading of some of the more technical
Dogs.
passages describing specific practices is in itself a perilous exercise. The ill-prepared reader can easily fall prey to attacks of demented hysteria, not unlike those described in cases of individuals said to be possessed by evil spirits.
They become tools used for marketing car dealerships.
I recommend the study made by Zempf, Urbain, Grandier, and Loudon, and the reports made by the Reverend Richard Price concerning a number of astonishing, to say the least, exorcisms carried out in a parish near Providence. Given what I have written, we must be grateful to the librarians of the British Museum, who have never allowed consultation of the work of Al-Azif's startling work, the infamous Necronomicon.
Mhm.
Copies of that work do exist, in spite of the zeal of book-burning inquisitors. For proof, we need look no further than the British Museum, of course, and the sealed archives of the Miskatonic University in Arkham.
Where is Arkham? Does Gotham exist?
Other examples of books whose evil can be unleashed by any thoughtless reader are von Jutz's von Unersprechlichen Kulten and the abominable De Vermis Mysteries by Ludwig Prien, whose sordid death should be a lesson to all those tempted by a study of the occult.
No, let us study the occult. It's fun. Which was the funny book we read? Here. Take that! Oh
Ludwig Prien,
no.
De Vermis Mysteriis,
Okay.
Nomine invocatoris si non sanctificatus es cave. De vermis mysteriis non absolvo folem legendum fatum et eum versus. Tibi magnum innominandum signa stellarum nigrarum et.
Have I domed myself? We become ghost. Oh! Oh dear! Oh! Ugh. We'll be back. Okay. There is the death book. You know what? We should put it on the pentagram. That's right. If anyone sees it, they'll realize it's bad. It's a bit too... Take it. There we go. Perfect. Now people will know it's bad. Oh shit, you. Well, how about you? Yes! Let's see. Let's just leave a bunch of sharp knives everywhere. There we go. Now we can search the library. Aha. Apparently there's 4 books you can find. We found one about the temple. We found the funny one.
Unfinished chapter of Terra Incognita by Jacob van Ostade. A hitherto unpublished fragment of the manuscript unearthed following indications furnished in the Vatican Library's Expurgatory Index.
He said Spurg.
In those icy and unwelcoming lands, the rites of wizards and healers are deeply rooted in ancient legend. Mysterious and cruel beings are thought to have ruled over the Arctic plains in times past. A cursed city, enclosed by massive walls, is believed to stand to this day. It contains fabulous treasures and is inhabited by the degenerate descendants of those who instilled centuries of terror in the hearts of the people.
Inbreds?
These people, naturally placid,
Flaccid.
are seized with rage and horror at the very mention of the prisoners of the ice. Were these dreadful captives to be freed from their frozen cells, they would reap a horrifying tribute of human flesh. These blood-curdling beings may be invoked by certain ritual words.
Anime.
They can even be controlled, albeit with the greatest of difficulty. I admit to being impressed by these tales, repeated to me on many occasions and in a number of different places during my travels in the region. I have also seen troubling cult objects, sculpted in a material unknown to me.
Latex.
Another remarkable fact is that local Eskimos experience great distaste in pronouncing certain words, and invariably avoid saying them. Here is a living example of the power that words contain. As it is said in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word.
What was the word? A bird? Okay, that was a dumb meme. Allow me to search some more. Ah, this is the last one. But there's only 4.
If Rocks Could Talk,
Oh.
or The Story of a Louisiana Plantation by the Marquise de Chamfray.
After the criminal selling off of Florida by the foul usurper, my father elected to remain in this inhospitable land, where we were
Florida.
free at least to express our royalist feelings, and hope our country would come to its senses. In 1818, a certain Pickford bought up Ledoux's land, after the poor fellow had ruined himself in unfortunate speculation. Pickford soon turned out to be the most loathsome human we had ever encountered.
Well, his name is Picklefoot.
He was an adventurer of the worst kind,
A drunk.
boorish and bloated with a grotesque sense of self-importance.
Ah.
First came the incessant army of men with shovels, digging into the mountain of earth that was to fill in the surrounding swamp. The undertaking was quite stupendous. We learned from a slave that the final objective was to connect the existing caves with another one of gigantic proportions.
You shouldn't ruin swamps, they're part of nature's great cycle.
Racked by a mania of persecution, Elia Pickford constantly fired his workers and hired new ones. He did all he could to keep anyone from learning about his plans. My father was amused and said, "The poor fool will end up getting lost in his own cave." The walls went up, and tongues started wagging. Our detestable neighbor had been a sailor, a ruffian grown rich on questionable trade. Distasteful stories were told of him.
What is this? A map? I don't know what that is.
When the work was finished, Pickford invited us to the opening of his rambling mansion, which he named Derceto. My father asked what the strange name meant. Pickford answered, "Derceto reminds me of Astarte, the fertility goddess. Around here, the name is Shub-Niggurath. I believe that a name so steeped in evil should be said aloud came as not such a shock to my father, as he himself confided in me some while later."
Shub-Niggurath. What a goofy name.
We left immediately. In June of 1862, Derceto was burned down in unexplained circumstances. It was undoubtedly the deed of some jealous Yankee or another. It was amazing to watch the servants rushing into the flames to try and save their bullet-riddled master. After that terrible night, Derceto fell into ruin. Its blackened walls were soon overgrown, as human-built works always are, by ever-present nature.
Oh, that's the house we're in.
In 1875, the property was eventually bought by a gentleman whose name
It's
was
him.
Howard Artwood. I was sorry that my father, who delighted in fine conversation, was no longer alive to enjoy the company of this new neighbor. Learned and well-versed in history, he had made a particular study of piracy. It was Artwood who told me that Pickford had commanded a ship that flew the flag of piracy. That explained the scoundrel's great wealth. Artwood was fascinated by Pickford and undertook a great deal of research in an attempt to find some treasures that he was convinced the pirate had hidden. He went through the ruins inch by inch. He then had the burnt-out house rebuilt exactly as it had been, and refurbished the library that had miraculously escaped the flames on the night of the Great Fire.
So it was a magic library.
Artwood set about studying every volume in that library, and often talked to me of his research. He was a handsome widower, deeply attached to his son Jeremy, who was later to become a professional artist. Artwood worked incessantly,
That was the
first
guy
from the
behind.
room I offered him, then from his own freshly restored home, which he rebaptized Derceto. I imagine he hoped to enlist the help of the god of good fortune in his treasure hunt. As far as I have ever been able to tell, all his searching came to nothing. There were no lost treasure to be found at Derceto. I learned of Artwood's death while I was in Paris. But that, as they say, is another story.
How did this buck get here? I should probably put this stuff down. Okay. We have a key, but I don't know what it's for. Ooh, I think I might have an idea. What was I looking for? Alright, yeah. Apparently the lantern has fuel. So, I mean, we left a bunch of stuff in here. Yeah. Oh wait, no, this is the wrong one. Don't really need 2 knives. That was where we saw the thing, right? Right. There we go. So where was this door? Alright, in the smoke room. The running is kind of awkward. You have to like double tap up arrow, but like really fast. There we go. Oh yeah, we can probably get rid of the key now. Oh, I thought this was a coffin. Oh, an Alibaba sword. There's a mechanism to trigger. Ah. Oh, reading, hooray. Who's this sexy broad? Hello, ma'am. I think I know exactly what that is for.
The Tale of Captain J.W. Norton of the Army of the Union.
No?
1862. The South was in collapse. Louisiana was open to us. I had each day to requisition victuals for our troops, and was aided in this endeavor by a score of brave men. Rebels were not yet ready to lay down their arms. The region was far from safe. I headed further and further west, and questioned many freed slaves. From them, I learned of a plantation on the coast. Its name was Derceto. We received a less than hearty welcome. Only Pickford, the owner, behaved in a friendly manner. While my men counted cattle and grain reserves, I learned what I could from him. Man was most unusual and possessed an extraordinarily cultured mind. At nightfall, I gave orders for the men to bivouac at Derceto. Pickford invited my second-in-command, Lieutenant Patterson, and myself to dine.
Bivouac? What? What does that mean?
And our host proved a most entertaining conversationalist. While coffee was being served, Patterson went to inspect the men's camp. The cigar Pickford offered me was so acrid that my head began to spin.
It was laced with poison.
I remembered campfire tales of fellow officers trapped by devilish Confederate tricks. My mind floated in a foul and dense fog, from which emerged the enlarged and deformed face of Pickford. He grinned at me.
You are my boyfriend now.
Patterson's return chased off the nightmare. I heard shouts and firing from outside and found the strength to take out my revolver. I fired 3 shots. Pickford fell to the floor.
Whoa,
Patterson then helped me out of the burning house.
Wasted
The
time.
air was filled with smoke. We resembled a company in disorderly retreat. I saw slaves leaping into the flames of that inferno. They were trying to save Pickford's life.
But why? Pickleford. Ah! Let's see if my assumption is correct. Oh wait, right, I need to put it. You put the saber blade on the coat of arms. Aha! I'm very intelligent, if you didn't know.